Why war won't work with Gen Z?
You know, they say every couple of generations, one generation is bound to experience the most life-changing events in history. And so far, it's looking like Gen Z is fitting the boot. Okay, maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but can you blame me after all the things we've had? Most of us were born around the time or after one of the most devastating terror attacks in modern times happened. We saw our parents trying to keep their sanity during the 2008 financial crisis. As soon as we stepped out into the real world as adults, everything decided to shut down because of COVID in 2020.
Yeah, the only thing, the reason war is getting scarier now too is most generations go through a financial crash, a war that they witnessed their parents or future generations go through, and then a war they go through themselves. And obviously the world is trying to stray away from that, and I think it has in some part gotten more peaceful, but now it's obviously getting less peaceful with what's happening with Ukraine, Russia, Iran, Israel, and all, the other countries that are currently at war with each other, or at least sparking up war and controversy, even Taiwan and China, and stuff like that. So, and North Korea, but that's obviously just been a thing for years. I think the big fear is that, like, we as a generation will have to fight in a war, but I don't think that will happen because I don't think the majority of Gen Zers would want to be in war. I'm not saying that, like, most Gen Zers are pacifist. It's more so, like, just conscientious objection. It's like war previously in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s has been about like communism versus capitalism. And then obviously like Adolf Hitler and all these other things. And then just countries kind of battling it out from previous things. And that still happens today, but I really don't think, at least for Americans specifically, the majority of Gen Zers would want to fight in a war.
We've been having drills.
Is political warning? I wouldn't say there's a political warning.
Since we were 5 at school in case a lunatic comes in and mows the whole school down. And now to add the cherry on top, we may be running back the draft and being put on the warfield. Excuse me, I meant you guys may be running back the draft and on the warfield. I just found out I'm highly on the spectrum, so unfortunately that means I can't qualify.
I don't think, is that true? Aren't there people that are artistic in the military? I don't know. No, I thought there are people with autism in the military. Maybe it's specific types. I have a peanut allergy. Peanut allergy saves me. Do you think alpha gal saves me? Alpha gal and I got fucked up feet. So I don't know. Because I couldn't eat war rations. Like when I did the MRE shit, I couldn't eat half of it. Like I had to chew it and spit it out. So I just wouldn't be able to eat the majority of the food. Unless they just gave me other stuff. I don't know. I just don't want to go to war. I don't understand. I get like wanting to protect your country in a defensive standpoint, but I just think the idea of like going to fight and die for either another nation's problems, your nation, or having to fight and die for other people in power's struggles with one another and them using you as puppeteers for that means is very upsetting. I've always been thankful of the military, and I've said this previously. But I think that, somebody that's volunteering and going into the military to defend their country and kind of post up their obviously free nation is a lot different from like getting drafted and forcibly sent to war.
But good luck, future soldiers.
I still respect every person in every rank in the military though.
I'll give y'all each a high five and you can have fun on the battlefield. It's crazy how Gen Z is kind of running back what millennials had. Because millennials had a war growing up with a terrible economy and had to worry about if they could even afford a house. But man, at least they had good music coming out. What the do we have for these turmoil times? Lil Mabu? I don't think I really have to explain too much what's going on. If you don't keep up with the news, you've probably seen the memes already about hitting 360 no scopes on the battlefield. But the United States of America officially got involved with the Israel and Iran conflict and decided to drop 3 bombs.
All right, I'm gonna throw a political warning on. Yeah. Sus for the 3. We won't go to war because we don't want to. The kids that get drafted in Nam didn't want to. Crazy to say we won't go to war because we don't want to. The kids that got drafted in Nam didn't want to. The reason I say that is because I think the majority of people would refuse going to war and would rather take prison time or would protest into a civil war. I think that's the difference between Vietnam. I don't think it's crazy to say, Sus. I think if you took what I said at surface value, it is. But I think if you actually looked into what I was saying, it would be drastically different. The majority of people near the end of Vietnam didn't want to fight, but it was already so deep into the war and the people that were already in office that they still felt that that was the option they had to do, and it was weak otherwise to not do it. They didn't want to go to war, but it wasn't to the point where they were willing to, I guess, take prison time or fight against it otherwise. I think Gen Zers would literally just be like, no. Because they can't physically force you to go to war. You can take penalty and go to prison otherwise, but I think the majority of people would literally just try to dodge the draft. They would try to, it's a way to, it was a different culture and a different mindset of men being drafted then. In the fucking Vietnam era, like, nobody, it was open that the families of the kids didn't want to go, the kids didn't want to go, but if you were drafted, you had to go. Now, I think it's, if you get drafted, it's not weak to say no. It's just like, it's fighting against the idea of war versus not being a man, right? I think that was the difference. If you didn't go then, you weren't being manly, right? Now, it's just like, you don't support war. Like, if somebody was like, you're not being a man because you don't want to go to war, I don't give a fuck, right? Like, I don't support war. I don't think you should kill people over problems.
Bombs on what they say is their nuclear sites. But of course, that's just a theory. A game theory. All right, I'm sorry. I feel like I need to take these matters more serious. Now, I'm not going to say too much of my personal opinion on it and break this down like it's a 5-hour political podcast. I usually say and talk about things more on stream, so definitely go follow me on there in the second channel. But it's not surprising that everyone is scared online and doesn't know what's going to happen. You know, in the past, you usually didn't have a president tweeting that they bombed a country, then posting a low PNG photo of the American flag right after.
Yo, literally ripped off Google too. Like, you could see the pixels.
This is definitely the worst time to be the ripe age of 18 to 25 because we going first if the draft happens. Unfortunately, high school class of 2025, you only got a couple of seconds of freedom before you were cooked. I've been thinking to myself,
when we were talking about this shit, we were talking about the draft, and half of my chat was like, yeah, have fun, Joe. 18 to 25, I'm 17. Buddy, war doesn't end in 6 months. War doesn't end in 6 months, pal. If the draft begins, it's not a one and done, you know? If you're like 16, you know, in 2 years, hey, buddy, you're probably going to get drafted.
For a while, in a hypothetical unlikely scenario of them actually doing a draft, the government doesn't realize that
it would not work with Gen Z.
Gen Z has got to be the worst generation for...
They're not getting 18-year-olds into the army. They're drafting the 18-year-olds first. The U.S. military, the U.S. military would, I'm pretty sure, first and foremost, draft 18-year-olds. What age do they draft first in war? Men who are 20 or turn 20 take first. Oh, okay, no, I'm wrong. 20-year-olds go first, then 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Then if they're all gone, 19, 18. So if you're 20, you're the first guy to go. I think that's because you're like near the age of peak physical fitness. And if you actually look into like the mindset of men, it's the easiest to get younger men to follow orders because of hierarchy ranking wise, as well as mindset psychologically, right? Like a man's brain and the brain in general doesn't finish developing till 25. And being able to have men follow orders, listen to you, and understand the hierarchy ranking of like respect in that time is easier to mold them and make them into like fighters in war. It's easier to get a 20-year-old to be a male fighter in war, or, you know, a military machine, compared to somebody that's 25.
For them to try and get on the war train with them. And this isn't even mentioning about all the femboys and furries we got. Not even talking about how half of us are either morbidly obese or twigs. What
do they do there? Like, that's another problem. Like, is there a level of being, like, if you were really overweight, are they drafting you and saying, like, you need to lose 60 pounds? Or are they just not drafting you? Because I know to get it, to volunteer and get into the military, you have to pass a physical fitness exam. So you have to be in some shape to where they're able to mold you. But in a draft, I feel like when a draft happens, the notches get lowered. Right, it's like we let more people in because we need, you know, infantry or people in the Navy and stuff like that.
One of the main reasons I think war wouldn't work with Gen Z is because the propaganda age of America.
It's a disability. Well, but how overweight? Like, if you're 6 foot, how much would you have to weigh to where you're not getting drafted? 280. If you're 260 and 6 foot, you're getting drafted. Like, I'm 6 foot 210. You'd have to be like obese. You'd have to be, like, literally a doctor would have to be like, you can't run a mile.
America's officially dead. And not just America, any country that has some form of free press is absolutely cooked. The reason why people back then were so patriotic and would do anything to be in the army in war times, you had kids who were in high school lying about their age so they could serve in the army, was because
that was like World War II, though. That wasn't as much Vietnam. Like, maybe early Vietnam, but like World War II, people were lying about their age to get into war. Vietnam near the end, dude, everybody wanted to get out of that shit. No one, because it was just anybody that went died. Like, everyone, like if your kid went to war in Vietnam, you know they're dead and they're dying and the war's not, it's not solving anything.
Because so many people trusted what the politicians said. And
When was Vietnam? The 1960s? 1955 to 1975. So 20 years, 50 to 70.
how the media said things. Politicians were treated as saintly figures that would never do bad for the American people, because why would they? They sit on podiums and do cool speeches about us fighting for our democracy and freedom. And now we look back at certain conflicts America got in and realize that there was no point in us being there. Like, almost nobody nowadays thinks the Vietnam War was something America needed to get involved in. And it's crazy how the
Oh, not at all. It did nothing. It literally, it was fighting it was the idea of the Iron Curtain. And, you know, you listen to history class, it was capitalism, communism, and then there was the Cold War after, and it was a whole fucking thing. But like, it wasn't beneficial. Like, we just had people die. Like, so many people. How many on both sides? How many U.S. soldiers died in Vietnam? 58,220 military casualties. Like, that's terrible. Vietnamese soldiers, civilians killed, ranged from 970,000 to 3 million. 275,000 to 310,000 Cambodians and 20 to 62,000 Laotians. Wow.
#1 superpower for military in all things. Lost to that were setting up Looney Tune ad traps in the ground.
I love learning about that stuff, though. And, like, torture methods and the traps they would set up, where they would have spikes covered in poop to, like, infect people. Oh, it's fucking scary, but it's like, whoa. Like, the crazy stuff they'd come up with to make sure, like, you're either dying or you're physically unable to fight. Yeah, what did that say? The Chong Truck Quay rolling trap. Like, that would stab the fuck out of you. There's an upward spike. It would grab your flesh. And then
Also,
they're just being landmines. Like, imagine just having to, like, wade through, like thin water or, like, you know, fucking swampland or paddies or jungle. And they're just mines everywhere. And you're walking in a triangular formation. And one of the guys that's either your friend or somebody you got to know, you know, 100 feet away from you, boom, blows up. Like, PTSD, now you're fucking scared. You're scared you're gonna die. Now you're traumatized for the rest of your life. Like, it's just, war's fucking terrible, dude.
The Iraq War is universally seen as a dumb war that shouldn't have happened by people now. Like, even Trump and Obama agree on that. That's probably the only thing they agree on. The reasons why these work, though, is because it was so much easier to push propaganda in the past. Like, in the Vietnam War, they were playing TV ads saying this was all about freedom and nothing else. Taking ads out the newspaper saying the only way to be a man is by getting drafted to war. And at the time before social media, everyone basically believed it because that's all that was shown. There wasn't anyone with major platforms that would go against it because they would get censored. And everyone—
Well, and then also the actual independent journalists that went to Vietnam, like, dude, could just die.
watched media through a few news channels which would all say the same thing. During the Iraq War, though, that's when you first started seeing people actually start speaking up about things.
Yeah, and when there would be independent journalists that would go to the Iraq War and watch the CIA and American troops torture innocent people that weren't terrorists and fucking pull their fingernails out, enhanced interrogation. They would fucking, dude, they would attach like car jumper cables to their nipples and make them stand and shock them. They would waterboard them and keep them on the edge of death. And be like, where is, and they would just lie, and they'd be like, oh, over here, because they don't know, right? They get false info, they fucking steal some random guy and just go, you look like you're Middle Eastern, you probably know where these guys are. No, dude. Like, you could look into, like, an Australian man that was, like, in the Middle East for a period in time, ended up getting captured by the CIA. They tortured him for, like, 5 years. Told him his family was dead, fucking lied to him. They were like, you're a fucking terrorist. They just do. The CIA tortures people. Or I don't know anymore, but like they get around it by saying it's enhanced interrogation. They just torture people. Like the CIA just tortures people. And you could say, oh yeah, you're torturing a terrorist. It's also proven torture doesn't work. Enhanced interrogation doesn't work. Because the majority of people that they enhance interrogate aren't actually, terrorists. And even if they are, they're not going to fucking tell you anything. And if they do tell you something, they're going to lie. And if they do tell you the right thing, it's probably not even really going to help.
Saying, hey, maybe going into a country and murdering innocent civilians and committing war crimes isn't a good thing. Just maybe. But social media was still in its baby phases at the time it was going on, so there was still a lot of enthusiasm for it. But now with Gen Z, we grew up in the most free era of social media. No one would go because everyone would know it would be another lie that the government is doing. And the military's numbers have already been dropping more than ever. People have been making fun of it because they be trying to recruit soldiers anywhere they can now. They've been seen at anime cons. They got whole Twitch
the Marines go to track events. They go to everywhere, dude. They'll go to regular high schools. They do the pull-up bar challenge and they try to just like rope people in.
channels now. They even got them at NBA games now.
Which I get, I don't think that's like wrong for them to try and like recruit people. It's just like be outward, I would never want to serve in the military, but I understand the military trying to get people to sign up for the military. Obviously, you need people in the military. I just don't want to personally be in the military.
I'm not gonna lie, if I'm watching my glorious king LeBron putting up 40 points and a military sergeant comes up to me like, hey son, this game sure is great, right? Have you ever thought of the game of fighting for your country? Like, get the out my face, bro. I'm watching LeBron. Even if there was a chance it was true and we were rightfully defending ourselves from evil, the US government has lost so much trust in the public, no one would believe them. I don't know a single man I've asked in Gen Z that said they would actually go if they got drafted. Most would rather.
No, I think there's a lot of people that would. I think it's way less of a percentage. In Vietnam times, it was like the majority of people that got drafted are going. I think now it would be like 40%. I think like 4 in 10 people are probably gonna go if they got drafted.
Just take the prison time or fine, then go. And looking at it in the long run, it's not even that bad. It's 5 years in prison max if you don't go. So it's either you get 5
and a fine of up to $250,000. Keep that in mind.
Go. So it's either you get 5 years max in prison for not going and stay alive, or go and potentially get obliterated on the battlefield by a missile straight to the head. Hey man, I don't know about y'all, but I'm throwing a party in that prison for every day we not in the warfield. I got a friend that served in the military for a couple of years, and even he said nowadays he'd rather take the prison time. Also, the younger—
No, I think that depends on the person you talk to, and also if they're in the Navy, if they're in the Marines, wherever they are. I have a friend that was in the Marines, and he was stationed in like South Korea watching Chinese boats, and he said he would just like literally just smoke cigarettes and get drunk because there was nothing to do, and then he would sit on the beach and just watch. Like during the day, he would just sit on the beach and watch boats to see if they invaded, and at night he would just drink and smoke cigarettes, and that was his life for like 4 years. Was just watching boats go by and just waiting. How much do you get paid? Not a lot. You get benefits. That's the thing is usually you're gonna get a signing bonus. A lot of people do military marriages because they get bonuses for that too. Getting your first house and stuff. Obviously, there's military bonuses for a lot of stuff, insurance and stuff, but it's also like the fear of if you're gonna have trauma and stuff. You gotta weigh your odds, right? I think the problem is a lot of people sign up for the military because of what they offer without looking at the downsides. Like you gotta weigh them. For some people it makes sense. For a lot of people, it doesn't.
Generation has realized we don't want to fight a war because of a politician's beef. Like, why don't y'all fight it yourselves? Why I gotta grab the military equipment while you sit on a plane watching from above drinking champagne? They should host a boxing match every year for world leaders, and whoever wins, their country gets the most benefits.
Okay, no, that I hate when people propose that idea because then we would just start fucking electing monsters. Not like monsters mentally, monsters physically, right? We wouldn't elect somebody based on how politically good they were. We would just be like, can you beat this guy up could you beat up the Russian leader in a fist fight? That's so bad. That's so bad. And then if you have war disputes through that, or like I've seen people say like, oh, they should do video games. They should do like video game simulations for war. No, because then it's like, well, now you lose, and then people are still just going to be like, well, fuck you, I'm going to nuke you now. It would make it worse.
For that year. Looking at—
because the only way you could actually have— I don't like war, but in a genuine dispute where it gets scaled to the point where they want to have war, the only way it's going to get solved is until one caves.
Better leader for now, though. Yeah, we might be losing for the next couple of years if that happens. Also, growing up in this age, we've gotten exposed to how badly these war injuries leave people. This right here might be the sole reason Gen Z would never join in. There's always a chance you could end up with one of those. People in war lose body parts I didn't even know was possible to lose. The day I'm at war and they try to obliterate my meat, the whole place is getting torn down. now. They should have tried to stop those images from coming out, because who the hell would want to potentially get involved in a war after seeing pictures like that? And it's crazy because it could happen at any moment to you on the warfield. One day you're chilling in the breezy weather of Iraq and
Yeah, and you get your face burned off.
115-degree weather. You're vibing, then you look to the right and see a man with 20 cc's of C4 strapped to his chest running to you at Usain Bolt speed. And now you end up looking like Two-Face back at home. I'm not sitting here and saying all of
Or dead.
America's wars were unjustified though. Like, I always appreciate the veterans out there who fought, because most of the time, even if the war ended up being unjustified, a lot joined to fight for justified reasons and what they were told, and then felt bad when they realized it was a lie. And also for World War II, America was justified in a lot, like, let's be real, mainly making sure Adolf didn't.
Yeah, the problem though is like politically, the US is usually leaning towards war because war can a lot of the times help the US economy, and in times like now where we're struggling, leaders and in general are more inclined to get into war because it can help economies sometimes.
End up owning the world. But like I said, no matter how
Greedy motherfuckers. Or yeah, if you take over a country, then you get access to their stuff too. Like oil or whatever it may be.
how justified a conflict may be, the trust is gone from the public. It'll take a real hard campaign to have the youth agree the government is totally not lying in what they're saying. And the president we have now is totally not a liar, right?
One thing I can promise you this: I will always tell you the truth.
Well, not even that. I remember that motherfucker, before he got elected, you know, not trying to shit on Trump right now, said he would get us out of war. We're in a new war, and we're more involved in the wars we were already in than ever. Like, it's just cap. That was just, we are more in war. Like, you could just look at his tweets. Like, not even just like individual like interviews. Like, he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna get us out of war. Nope.
He don't even believe that himself. Do you see his face? He was probably holding back a laugh so hard in his mind. That's the thing that's most important in a war, having a person that the younger generation wholeheartedly trusts. It's a reason why a lot of dictatorships completely ban social media, because they can fully propaganda the
Well, propaganda the fuck out of it, but I still think like the average North Korean citizen doesn't love Kim Jong-un. I always wonder that. I wish I could just talk to the average North Korean citizen, because even with the mass propaganda, you can't sit there and be like this, because their lives are fucking terrible. Like, they can't, everything has to be given to them by the government, and they're not even allowed to move within specific areas without the government's permission. They can only live in is it Pyongyang? No, Pyongyang is South Korea. Capital of North Korea. No, it is Pyongyang. Pyongyang, you can't even live in Pyongyang unless you get permission to, and you're like a high official, and you're not even there forever. You're only there for a temporary amount of time that has to be renewed. Kind of like a visa. And so it's like, dude, all of their fucking life is dictated. All of their life is dictated by the government. How can they sit there and be like thankful for like the shitty starving situation they're in and love Kim Jong-un? Like, if you're like a starving North Korean citizen, and I'm not trying to be a dick, you see Kim Jong-un who walks over and he's fat. Like, I couldn't put, even with the propaganda, I couldn't put myself in their shoes and be like, they love Kim. Like, no, they probably fucking hate him, but like they're scared of him. It's like a fear following, not like a love for him. So they like fake love him, otherwise they're punished and their family gets thrown in fucking camps.
The younger generation to look up to the leader, and they're all gonna believe in them. Even having someone that they trust is hard, but having someone that the younger generation doesn't trust, yeah.
No, I don't think it's like Stockholm syndrome. Maybe. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I would need to talk, and they never can, because every tourist that goes to North Korea, and that's why I want to watch that Johnny Harris video too. It's another 45 minutes because it's about fucking North Korea. But anybody that goes to North Korea, if you're a tourist, you just fucking interact with other people that know you're going and already have scripted responses. You can never just walk up to like a random Pyongyang citizen and be like, hey, what do you think about Kim Jong-un? And they're not going to tell you because they're scared, right? Like, you're never going to get an honest answer out of somebody, so you don't know if they're lying or not.
That's gonna be damn near impossible for the government to try to get us on the war train with that. No matter your view on Trump, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that most of Gen Z does not have a good view on him. You take a room of 10 of us, and I would say at least 8 people are gonna say they don't like him. And look, like I've said in the past, I'm not even one of those that's a Trump hater 24/7 and spends all day writing hate articles on him. But if you truly think the younger generation would fully be behind him declaring a war on another country, you're delusional. Bro, we just had protests around the whole country.
I still think there's a lot of Gen Zers that like Trump. I just think even the people that do like Trump don't like the idea of getting in war.
Against what he's doing. And because he's commander-in-chief and can set whatever war policies he wants, I would not trust what the this would implement. Like, what if he implements a policy where if your meat is smallest, you gotta be the first to go because you probably can't repopulate the population after it drops from all the casualties?
He would just not do that.
All of us would be like, I don't know if I can trust the man leading the war that says this on stage.
Because they asked me what I do, and I said, I'm gonna bomb the out of them.
Imagine he forgot there was a couple of soldiers on the warfield and threw one right in the middle of the fight. Also, another reason why the younger generation wouldn't be motivated to join in is because we really got nothing to look forward to and have no hope for an American dream. Our economy's still from
the economy of the American dream is fucked because the wealth income inequality has gotten worse and worse since the fucking 50s or 60s. The average household income is the same as it was in the 80s, but everything's fucking like 80 times as expensive. Like, people make now, a good economy is an economy where you're likely to make more than your parents, but you don't anymore. You don't. You're probably going to make as much, if not less, than your parents. And I'm not trying to be depressing when I say that, but it's like the odds of getting more money than your parents in a good income job is less and less every single fucking generation now. And one of the biggest things that has fucking gotten better is CEO pay. Like, people that are the heads of companies, this is why it's proven that the trickle-down effect doesn't work. Because if you want to give tax breaks to businesses like Trump does, and you're going to say the trickle-down effect will work, no, the CEO is just going to take all the money. He's just going to take all the money, and you can see it statistically. CEOs now make like fucking 800 times what the average worker makes, up to like 2,000 times what the average worker in their company makes. It used to be like 50. It used to be like, yeah, they made fucking like 50x what you make. Now they make 2,000 times what you make. And they're not going to give you more. They're just going to take a higher percentage. And so, like, I don't understand what the fuck we're doing.
COVID and inflation is still going.
And it's just the same. I think at some point, I think within the next 20 years, there's going to be a time where, like, not just our generation, but the American people in general go, okay, this is fucking bullshit. Because over and over and over, it's like Call of Duty making a million bad games, and then that one COD kid that dick rides until he can't anymore. It's going to be the same thing, where it's like people drag it so long, and eventually they're going to go, okay, this isn't working. And we're going to have some sort of change
going on. No one can get a job on the mainland already, and most of Gen Z ain't going to get a house in their lifetime. At least back then, when you fought a war, you had those things to look forward to. You came back and could work a shift as a cashier and buy a house in 2 years. Nowadays,
they used to be a factory. You used to be able to be a factory worker and buy a house with like 2 years income. Like, a fucking factory worker. Like, obviously all those are overseas now, effectively. But, like, minimum wage jobs, like, you used to be able to just work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and buy a house, no problem. And just pay it off.
Instead of that, you're gonna come back and have no work available to you.
That's exaggerated? No, it's not. What was the average income in the 1950s? $3,300. What was the average house price in 1950? That was the average income of an individual. The average house price was $7,354, which is a little more than double what the average family income was in the 1950s. And keep in mind, in the 1950s, a lot of the people working, a lot of households was one guy. The household income was one man, right? And then women obviously got into the workforce, so that changed things too. And then household incomes were even more supplemented, and now people were able to, make more money, and that, changed things for a while. But dude, the average house price, $7,300. The average income, $3,300. Now, the average house price in the United States, $503,000 is the average price. Median price, meaning middle, is $416,000. And the average American makes what? Anywhere between 35 and 50?
Probably still be living with your parents.
That's crazy.
The femcells on Twitter and TikTok are going to be laughing at the men dying on the warfield. And don't count on the government to help you either after. It's so sad to me that there's people out there that served the country and helped keep it alive, only for them to end up homeless with no help from the government. In what world should homeless veterans even be a thing, bro? We spend $880 billion billion on the military a year. Everyone who served in war should be eating good and kicking back for the rest of their lives. They did something.
Well, isn't that also, that's like a big thing on social media right now is people in the military posting like lobster and steak dinner, and that usually means that they're being sent to war soon, because it's like you usually get like fined and dined before you have to get sent to do something that you don't want to do.
That none of us wanted to do, and the politicians, and then got the end of the stick. If I was them, I would take back all of my service and stay my ass on the mainland. The government has tried to right those wrongs and make better benefits for people, but you still end up with people who got left behind and have nothing after. The only reason why I would even join, to be honest, is the benefits. I just have to sit there and pray that a war doesn't actually happen. Because for real, I'd only want the free insurance and vacations. The war field is a different conversation. I'm gonna have to take my prison time for that game. Anyways, that's gonna be it.
Free insurance, vacations, and 10% off at select stores. Got that discount. I feel like you gotta give more than that, you know? Like, I feel like a free item or something. Like, when I see a military discount, I'm like, oh, that's nice. But then it'll be like 5%. I'm like, 5%? 5%? Sir, my country, you gonna give me $1 off? Yeah, what?
For anyone in Gen Z that's actually worried about a draft in war, I'm gonna let you know right now, there's about a 95% chance no draft happens. Like, first off, half of our paycheck if you live in the United States goes to the military. We spend $880 billion a year on the military. And
well, no, the majority of your paycheck tax-wise goes to what? Welfare, pension, and or Medicaid, Medicare. Like, you pay heavily. The U.S. pays heavily into like the retirement capabilities for its citizens. Yeah, like the social department. But then, yeah, a lot of it's military. And then it's also like a big chunk of the debt we take on, and also the tax money we take on spending-wise, or government spending-wise, is to pay off debt for, you know, people that hold bonds, people that, foreign debt that we hold, a bunch of stuff. Medicare, Social Security, that's what it is. Not pension.
And Iran spends a whopping $10 billion. Their whole military operation would get wiped in like 2 nanoseconds if they actually tried to attack civilians. They would learn the true reason why we don't have free healthcare. The last thing they'd ever want to do is let all politicians put their political beliefs aside and let Congress come together and let Trump do whatever the he'd want to do in a war. It wouldn't matter if their allies got it.
Yeah, that's like the only benefit that I can see from a, you know, steel man argument is that Trump is insane and foreign countries don't want to fuck with him because he will be the guy that would bomb them. But everything else is a downside. Like, I can't. His economic plans are garbage. Dude, even Republican Wall Street guys just don't like him. I can't get behind it. I can't.
Involved,
and I try to see the other side. Like, I know people get mad at me because, like, you might be a conservative, and that's fine, right? But there's a difference between, like, you supporting Trump being conservative and, like, recognizing, like, hey, us adding $4 trillion of national debt and understanding the idea of how the trickle-down effect will not work is not a great idea. Like, it's not going to boost our economy. It's going to make things worse long-term. Even if it has any short-term benefit, it's going to be outweighed by long-term negative effects. Like, you can't read that and say it's good.
I don't think they would even do. They would have so much more to...
You could call me a sissy liberal. You could say I'm a stupid liberal. That's fine, right? You could call me a stupid liberal. I don't care, right? If you like Trump, I don't care. That's fine. It's getting harder and harder for a Trump supporter to like what Trump's doing in this current presidential term.
Lose with Iran, like, it wouldn't be worth it. Also, they wouldn't do it because I'm here. They know I don't play when I say leave us alone. Anyways, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, I love
TikTok. Fuck TikTok. I love Tommy NFG though. We can't drink alcohol until 21, but you could die in a meaningless war at 18. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Politicians just settle agreements, duel of fisticuffs. Yeah, bring back fucking fencing duels. What a crazy time that would be to live in, chat. A time where you could challenge somebody to a duel and fight them to the death legally. I challenge you to a duel. And then you have to fucking literally kill each other.